volunteer students, they had never met someone with a disability. They had maybe never met someone with autism. They come into our program, they're positive, they're patient, they're open, and they meet these kids and they see that they're just kids.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I interview thoughtful, inspiring, and creative guests who are changing the way we think about what is possible in our lives. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, psychotherapist and fellow Zestful Ager, and I love to hear from my listeners. My new website, zestfulaging.com, is up and running, and it makes it easy for you to leave comments or suggestions. Our music is courtesy of Judy Banker from her CD Buffalo Hotel, and it will be available in January of 2020. Judy Banker is also a guest, so you can hear my interview with her on the podcast. Well, I've got my Jack Russell Sparky right by my side, so let's begin. Paige Mills is the program director of Acing Autism, a unique nonprofit national tennis program for children on the autism spectrum. The program is scientifically designed to improve social and emotional functioning of autistic children using step-by-step lessons mostly taught by high school and college volunteers all over the country. Welcome to the show, Paige.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to hear more about this program. I know that it's quite unusual, and when I started researching it, I found that it actually has a scientific research behind it. It's not just like getting together and hitting tennis balls.
No. This organization was started by Richard Sperling and his wife, Dr. Shefali Jesti, in 2008. And his wife is a neurologist, and they started in Massachusetts. And what they realized was that Richard was a tennis professional and his wife was a neurologist, and they saw this space that wasn't being occupied, in that parents of kids with autism have limited options with what to do with their kids in terms of recreation and fitness and sports. And they wanted to combine efforts and give an opportunity to kids to learn something, increase their social skills, and be exposed to such a great sport.
I see. It's this great marriage, literally and figuratively, right,
Yeah,
of neurology and tennis. So can you talk a little bit about how this works and why it works?
Sure. I can tell you my experience with it. So our program runs on a very specific curriculum. Every clinic is run in the same way. It's an hour clinic, and we do a fall session and a winter session. Our program takes place in Syracuse at Drumlin's Tennis Center, which is affiliated with Syracuse University. And we follow a step-by-step curriculum every class. We start out with introductions. We have the kids introduce themselves to the volunteers that they work with, to each other. Each participant is paired with two volunteers to help them through the hour. So after the introductions, we start to warm up. Then we start with very basic ball handling skills, and we progress through volleying and even into hitting. And then at the end, we do a cheer and end on a great note. We all love tennis. So it's the same curriculum every week. And that's really important to the program, that no matter what Acing Autism program you go to around the country, they all should look the same and be, delivering the same service and the same program, no matter where you go.
And is that important because kids on the spectrum really need structure and predictability, or is there another reason for that?
I think that's certainly true, yeah. And I think that they just want continuity among the programs, yeah. I mean, there certainly aren't a lot of kids who are hopping around programs, but they do want continuity. It's so important. And kids on the spectrum do like predictability, and they like to be able to understand how things are going to play out throughout that hour, for sure.
It's really interesting because from what I know about autism, kids have real difficulty with social skills. And so that this is like a way to maybe focus on something else while getting some social interaction. Is that the way it looks?
It is. It is. So we always say to parents, we're not sure if you're going to get a professional tennis player out of our program, you know.
You're not sure.
Yeah, that may not happen. Maybe there'll be a one in a million. But what we are doing is introducing something that can be social. And by doing these activities, these very specific activities, they get to interact not only with their volunteer, but even with each other. Because we do try to couple groups so that the kids are interacting with each other as well. You know, we may have a child on either side of the net and they're trying to volley with each other, and they can give a high five when it goes well and a high five even when it doesn't go well. You know, that's really important because you're right. Social skills are really hard. Our program at Drumlins is a little unique in that we have almost all of our volunteers are high school and college students from Syracuse University. Some programs around the country have many more adults on their volunteer staff. That's how the makeup of our program. And what's nice about that is some of these kids that we work with, our participants, then go to their home schools and see the kids that have been the volunteers. And that's kind of a neat connection. They may have been in the same school for more than 1 year, and they didn't know one another. And then they do this program and now they see a familiar face, it's really neat. It's neat.
It's really important. And you've spoken about the effect that volunteering has on some of these younger people, high school kids, college kids. What have you noticed?
That is one of my favorite parts of Acing Autism. I love that our participants and their families get a lot out of this program. That's really very special. But the thing that I didn't know about, or I guess I wasn't thinking about when we started this program almost 3 years ago, was how it was going to change the volunteers that we work with and who they are as people, and that they go out into the world. For many of our kids, you know, our volunteer students, they had never met someone with a disability. They had maybe never met someone with autism. They come into our program, they're positive, they're patient, they're open, and they meet these kids and they see that they're just kids. And they may do things a little differently, but they have fun with them. And they laugh and they make a connection with them. And then when they go out into the community, I think they're different people. They are open to seeing other people in the community who have disabilities in a different way. You know, it's not, I always say to people, you know, it's not anyone's fault or that you have never met someone with a disability. And so sometimes what we don't know about, we're afraid of, right? We don't. So these volunteers, I believe, and I can see it across the almost 3 years that we've been at Drumlins, I see that these kids are different. They are more inclusive. They are seeking out kids with disabilities in their regular life. And I don't know if they would have done that without having worked in our program. So that's really special.
Oh, it really is. And I think that that's a model that has been used worldwide about, you know, meeting people you don't know and not being afraid and understanding that at the very core, we're all humans.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. Is there any particular story you have in mind about a volunteer who has changed?
You know, my own son is on the autism spectrum, and that's how I kind of came to Acing Autism. He met and is bonded with, I can say very easily, a student from a local high school. And I can tell you that my son Henry now sees that student at different places. He goes to the same high school that my daughter goes to. He has, you know, written Henry a birthday card. He sees Henry out and about at the high school, and there's lots of high-fiving, and there's lots of, how's Henry doing? And that student is now connected. He wrote his college entrance essay about his experience working with Acing Autism, and working with Henry. That's pretty powerful.
Oh my gosh. So you're talking about this being a program that really helps everyone, not just we're going to help these disabled children, give them an hour of tennis. This is really a ripple effect of connectedness and, I hate to say it's love.
Yeah, and it's love.
The L word.
Yes. Well, and I think the last piece of that also is the effect on the families. For many families, this program is really impactful in their family. A local TV station did an article on one of our kids, I think last year, and they interviewed a mom, and she said, "This is the first time I've been able to sit on the sidelines and watch my son participate in something and not have to jump up to kind of intervene or, get involved. I was able to sit and watch him like other parents do of more neurotypical kids. We kind of take that for granted. We go to an athletic event or a practice or an activity and we sit and we watch our kids and, our heart is full because we're so proud and and for some parents of kids with disabilities, they don't have that experience because maybe they have to jump in to intervene with their child. They have to be the interpreter for their child. And this mom said it was the first time that I got to sit and just watch my son interacting with two other people as they moved him through an activity, and then he interacted with another student across the net. It was wonderful.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
it was really special. And I think for the families, it's a special time. They're coming back. We have a very high return rate in our program.
I see. It makes me think, too, I know parenting kids on the spectrum is extremely can be very tiring. It's very intense. And I wonder, just for a parent to sit and watch also just gives them an hour to sit and not worry about their kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very, very true.
And so talk a little bit how this has had an effect on you.
Oh my gosh. I am not a tennis player. I play tennis, but quite poorly. And my daughter was a tennis player and always has been. And so we got involved because my daughter is a tennis player. And when she became a tennis player, our family kind of just opened up to the world of tennis, watching tennis, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the program was introduced to me just through an advertisement, through something for my daughter. And I thought, well, Henry could try that. I would love that if Henry could hit a ball with a racket and do a little tennis. And so it took a while. It took almost 2 years. But after he attended the program at Cornell University, we got them to come to Syracuse. And it's really become a big part of my life. As the program director, I'm not the on-court instructor because that would be disappointing for everyone. But
you're not the ball girl.
I'm not. Well, no, I shag a lot of balls. I'm always picking up balls. That I do. Mm-hmm. But I do all of the volunteer recruiting and the administrative work so that we actually have a tennis pro from Drumlin's, Brian Dahlstrom. He does the on-court instruction and he volunteers his time, which is really wonderful. So he is on court, he does that 1 hour, and I do everything on the outside of that so that he can have his responsibilities just that hour, giving the curriculum to the kids. He comes up with games, all kinds of activities. So it's become a big part of my life. I'm out there going to volunteer fairs. I've spoken at Syracuse University at special ed classes to try to get volunteers there. Mm-hmm. I recruit the volunteers, I organize their part in it, I monitor all of that, and I get to spend time with That's the other nice part about our program, with Brian being on the court. I get to spend time talking to families, answering questions, that kind of thing. Because this isn't, when your kids have special needs, you don't necessarily just drop them at the door and then go run errands during that hour. Right. That's just not how our lives go. So the parents are usually on site at Drumlins during the hour watching, and I get to spend time with them and talk about the program and talk about how things are going and how things have changed for them since they started. And so that's really special too for me.
And what's that like to connect with so many other parents who have kids in similar situations as Henry?
Oh my gosh. A lot of our parents, what we find is they already know each other, and the ones, because, Syracuse is a smaller city, and most of our kids are coming from, the greater Syracuse area. So a lot of the families know each other, but for the ones that don't, they're able to meet and they kind of talk and they interact and they share information and resources. And, did you hear about this special program at this high school? That would be a great opportunity for my student. So all that networking stuff has been great. And the other thing I should mention, Recess Coffee has been a local sponsor of ours for the last couple of years. So they've sponsored multiple kids, paid for their tuition into the program.
Really?
Yeah, it's been really, really helpful. The owner is a Drumlins player. He plays tennis at Drumlins sometimes. And so he's sponsored multiple kids, which has just been so generous. And then they sponsored a coffee hour where, again, the parents got to interact. And, those are just really neat community connections that are happening because of our program. And gosh, aren't we all better for having that happen?
It sounds like this networking kind of just has its own little legs, that this leads to this, and then you meet this person, and for people who are listening around the world, Recess Coffee is a local coffee roaster, and they've become quite popular. So I think they were named one of the best coffee places in the world by People magazine a long time ago. Yes, that's right.
That's funny.
So what will happen when Henry graduates from Acing Autism? What will happen with you?
I don't know, to be honest. I have a great access right now because my daughter plays high school tennis. So I have great.
You got a pipeline.
I do. And I've one of my focuses now, starting this year, is I really want to increase the amount of adults we have in our program. Local folks who are retired or just interested in tennis. You don't have to be a tennis player to volunteer with our program. You just have to have kind of a positive attitude, and you have to be ready to have an hour of fun. I want to try to get a larger pool of our volunteers to be older, full-fledged adults, because what happens with our kids is they age out, they go off to college, they graduate from college, they go back home, that kind of thing. So I think a lot of those folks will stay in the Acing Autism system. I think they'll go and they will volunteer at other programs where they live or where they move or where they go to school. But for us at Drumlins, it would be great to have more adult volunteers who aren't moving away,
I see, more stability.
Yeah. But again, the special thing that happens at Drumlins is because so many of our volunteers are students, the kids see them as peers, which is really great, and the practicing of those social skills with peer-aged folks is really nice. So we have a nice balance. I would just like to do that just for stability of our program, I guess.
It sounds like you're really committed to this program at this point. Sort of regardless of what your son is doing, you're so passionate about it and you see so much good.
I really do. I've been very lucky in that I have a great relationship with Richard, the founder, and Justin, the executive director, and we've done a lot of things together. I see them, a couple times a year. I just went to the U.S. Open clinic in Flushing Meadows, and that was really exciting. And you get to meet all the other program directors from around the country. And it's an energy about bringing tennis to kids, regardless of who they are and what their skills are. And it's pretty contagious, I guess I would say.
And you even have some tennis legends working in this program. I'm thinking about Pam Shriver, who she's very involved in Acing Autism.
Yes, she was at the clinic last year in Flushing Meadows, not this year, but she was at the clinic last year. And a couple of years ago, we had Simona Halep come, and yeah, there's really some folks who are interested in the program. Is now based out of Los Angeles. It started in Boston, but it's now based out of Los Angeles, and they do a lot of fundraising and that kind of thing, and they're always getting folks who are involved in professional tennis to help them out and lend a hand. It's just that great of a program. People want to be involved in it. So
I can hear your excitement and your passion and how you've seen what happens. You know the payoff. And so when you talk about it, you use the word contagious. Like, I can imagine students or adults saying, "Hey, I want to get into this. This sounds fun."
It is fun. It really, and I just worked, like I said, I was just at the US Open. I worked with a student named Joseph. We had the best time together. He just, by the end, I was saying to his parents, this kid needs to be playing tennis. He was doing a great job. And, being around other people who are just as excited about it is really it's a fun time. So.
And do you have corporate sponsors as well?
Yes. Acing Autism does have corporate sponsors, Head and Penn, and they're real lucky. They supply us with the equipment that comes. Yeah, so we're very, very lucky in that way.
That's great. That's wonderful. It just sounds, just listening to you, it just sounds really exciting. And I talked to Brian the other day about it, and he is so excited about it. It sort of ripples through the entire program that you're really doing something important and good for other humans, and then it comes back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that another special thing that happens is we find little gems in all of this. Brian is the tennis professional at Drumlins. His wife is a retired educator. So she's involved and she's worked with kids with special needs. So we're always finding resources and people who are interested in helping. And that's awesome.
Oh, it just sounds wonderful. Do you want to just say something to our listeners who are roughly, we'll say post-middle age, sort of 45, 50, and above, and some beyond, but that are having what we would call maybe empty nest syndrome. They're sending their kids off. Things are really changing in their lives. They're making a lot of transitions, and they're thinking about volunteering or what can they do with their time now because they're not taking their kids all around, and things have really shifted. It's a new developmental stage in life, and they're thinking, do I want to write something? Do I want to take up a hobby? What? I've got a lot of good years left. What do you want to say to them about volunteering?
My gosh, if you had asked me 10 years ago, would I be, running a tennis program for kids with autism in Syracuse, New York? I would say no. I'm a terrible tennis player, but I came to this, and what I have found is it's really given a special sense of purpose to this part of my life. Like I said, my son has autism, so I'm connected in that way. But what it has done is it's made my community connections so much stronger. It's shown me that I can take my son and my experience with him and his education and all the resources that we have used for him as he's been growing up, and how we're going to take it to that next kind of step. I think that volunteering is so important, and if you have the opportunity to do it, gosh, this is a great way to do it. And again, there's no skill set that's necessary for a lot of different things. If you have any even blink of an interest in something, to go for it, because it's really, really made my life richer. This experience with Acing Autism, how it touches my family, how it affects my family's place in the community. It's all been good.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds like a great observation. And I'm so happy to hear that, somebody who has a child with autism, which is not easy, presents its own challenges, that this really turns it into something that's positive and helpful and as you say, gives you such a deep sense of meaning. Yeah. Paige, thank you so much for telling us about all the goodness that comes out of acing autism. I did not know very much about it. I saw the banners up, but I had no idea how significant and meaningful this program was. So thanks for sharing. I really appreciate you spending time with us today.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for giving me a great opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends. I love to hear from my listeners. Send me an email at NicoleChristina.com. In this phase of our lives, we're more aware that our time is precious, and we certainly don't want to waste it taking care of stuff that we no longer need, left over from a life that we are no longer living. We know we would feel better with less clutter and more open space, but we don't know how to get there. If this sounds familiar, I'd love you to check out the online course I've developed with professional organizer and designer Carrie Luderin. This course is different than others you may have tried because we give you clear steps to deal with the clutter and tools to help you face the overwhelm and feelings that come up when you're going through your clutter. It's practical and realistic, and the lessons are short and punchy and very manageable, but it has the power to change your life. We all deserve to live in a peaceful home without the chaos of too much stuff. Find out more at NicoleChristina.com. And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest.